steadily it rises. Public preference for Lincoln Continental as the symbol for today's luxury motoring.
Hey, it's Jason ODB, the Lincoln Addict, and I wanted to provide a quick update on this 61 Lincoln Continental convertible. I did a full listing review very recently, and I wanted to jump in here and kind of just discuss a couple things that people are talking about and tie into what has been updated as far as the listing. Now, you'll recall on this 61, I kind of mentioned how really it has a kind of a survivor feel to it overall. It doesn't seem like it's really necessarily been restored. It seems like a very nice car, in my opinion. Of course, not perfect, but as I always say, they often need something. And something that was not super clear in the listing was talking about the top. Did the top function? And as I've said in the past, a convertible, there's really a couple things that people want to know. Does the top work and do the windows work? The first thing you want to do when you have one of these shipped to you is start the car. Obviously, you want the car to run and drive, but you want to be able to put the top down, put the four windows down, and go for a ride, right? Whether you're solo or with your family. And based upon the write-up and some things that people were gleaning from one of the images, based upon some of the work that was done to the top, there was a discussion whether, hey, does the top even work? And oh, by the way, they must have gotten the top to work because in this photo the top is down. Now, the lead photo with the top up is a little odd to me because, again, it's a convertible. These 60 Lincolns, if you're buying a convertible, they don't look as good with the top up. So I was curious why they even led with this photo, but it is what it is, right? I mean, it's very, kind of being nitpicky. And again, we can, after the fact, come in here and really review these things and kind of go down different avenues, if you will. And it's easy to do. Whereas Bring a Trailer, they do a great job, I think, with their site overall, and they're kind of the experts, right? I'm kind of the Monday morning quarterback, if you will. But a couple of the things that are being discussed are, does the top work? And there also was a question, and I don't know that I'm going to get right to, some people had kind of zoomed in here, and they talked about, I think this diagnosed the convertible top, parts, replace convertible hydraulic lines and whatnot, would not bleed. So someone had seen this and they're like, okay, they're putting two and two together and they're going, hey, there's got to be a problem with this. Someone had chimed in on something here, and there's a discussion point about the type of fluid that they're using. So I want to talk about that and talk about something that's always been reinforced to me. And I briefly hit upon that, but let's get to the meat and potatoes here. So the key update is the top does work. And what they did was they went in here, the Bring a Trailer staff, and they added three videos. And, they're short videos, and you have someone in the car, and they're putting the top down sequence, right? So the top is up. They want to put the top down. The deck lid comes out. The flapper comes up. The top unlocks. The top is going to come down and retract into the trunk space, and the deck lid is going to go down, and the two locks, there's a lock on each side, right here and right here. Those locks are going to come down, and it's going to go click, 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 and it's totally down, and boom, it's done. So that sequence was good, and you have the opposite sequence, again, just showing fully functioning. And what you have here is the locks are going to, for those that don't know, the locks are going to unlock it. The deck lid is going to come up. The top is going to basically go onto the car. You can see a lot, some people on social media, when I post videos of this, they go, oh, it's so slow. John Cashman will always say it takes about 60 seconds for it to do its thing, 50 to 60 seconds one way and then 50 to 60 seconds the next way. But it's going to come up here, and then the locks. Again, this is all automatic. You don't have to do anything other than, man the switch, so to speak. But once this locks in, you got a lock on each side. Then the flapper is going to come down. They stopped it right there, but they could have kept it going. But the flapper is going to come down, tuck underneath the deck lid, and then the deck lid's going to come down. And then here is one more quick video. I guess they had stopped it, and there you go. So boom. So it's showing it's fully working. So fantastic. I mean, again, if you were a seller or you were looking to buy a car, you want to know that. But if you're the seller, I highly recommend, just do these videos up front because it's going to save some time. Now, what they didn't do is they didn't do a video showing the auto drops. They simply may not work, and it's not a deal breaker, so to speak. But like I've always said, if you've got a convertible, when you push this button and you open this door, this window is going to drop, give or take 4 inches. And when you close the door, the auto drop is going to go up. And that is to ensure that it seals properly here. Now, many of these cars don't have the rear auto drops. They just don't work. And again, it's not a deal breaker. A lot of times these seals here aren't perfect anyways. For instance, on my 64, they're not. I don't typically drive the car in rain or anything like that. But, if you're looking to buy one of these cars, you want to know, do they work? Because if you're a type of person that you want everything to work, you're going to end up spending some money. If you can even find someone locally to you that would want to work and try to get the auto drops functioning up and down. So again, they don't necessarily make that clear. Now, there is a discussion point in here. I would read these comments with a grain of salt, so to speak. There is this guy here, and he is coming in here and saying that you can put in, different type of fluid for the convertible top system. Now, this guy comes in here, and again, he's saying here, you're still wrong. I have a 63 convertible in my care, 20 years, blah, blah, blah. And, everybody's going back and forth. It's kind of like with anything, you can go back and forth. The discussion point is this: in the convertible Lincolns, what type of fluid can you use in the system? Okay, now I said in my last video, the 61, 2, and it might have been 3, they had used like a brake fluid type fluid. And when those systems, when you upgrade them, you totally replace all of the lines, the cylinders, the rams, so on and so forth. The solenoids, all of that's redone. And what John Cashman has always said, and I guess you could slice and dice it, what has worked for you. Like I've always said, I'm not a fan of the 2-port carburetors, the 2-port fuel pumps. But some people say, hey, I have it and I never have an issue. And it's like we always say, well, you really want to have a 3-port, right? It's the same type of thing here. This guy is saying here is the 63 Impala guy is saying that he's used like Dextron and things like that, fluid. We have always went by the notion, and John Cashman has always preached this, especially this is an early year Lincoln. So when the system was upgraded, which we saw based upon the receipt, you would have wanted to only put Type F fluid in. Now, I'm curious if you guys can chime in. If you have a Lincoln, have you ever used anything else here in your system? Now, to me, I would never chance it. It's like, okay, you can find Type F fluid. Now, granted, I think it's like $10 a quart now. But why would you want to chance running anything else? Now, John Cashman has always been clear as well, and Blair and Teresa and everybody, you always put Type F fluid in your steering system, right, for your steering pump. Certainly, that is like there's no denying that you have to use Type F. This guy says ATF and its various types, F, Mercron, Dextron, I always say that word wrong, and so on, are specifically formulated to deal with the various compositions, blah, 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 blah. Most of us use ATF, whatever's handy in a convertible top system. Type F is hard to find and completely unnecessary. I would take this type of stuff with a grain of salt. Again, I'm curious, what do you guys think? I would never chance it. I mean, just use Type F. Now, my Lincolns are 64 and 65. My 64, I completely went through the entire system. Blair and Teresa helped me bleed it, but we would only put Type F in. I just don't know why this person's trying to reinforce that. But I do believe somewhere right here. Is there a way to confirm the fluid used by the shop was Type F when it was all upgraded? The earlier years, as I had mentioned, originally were filled with brake fluid. Later, they switched to Type F when replacing and bleeding the system. Again, I'm sure we all have different kind of home remedies or tricks of the trade or things that we do, and you might tell that to someone and they would say, man, I would never do XYZ to my vehicle. But on these Lincolns, I mean, it's simple. If you go in the Lincoln forum, if you talk to people like Chris Dunn and people that have been around these cars, like John Cashman worked on these cars for 40 years, why would you go against what they say? Now, if there's something scientifically that says, yeah, you know what, you can use one of the other type of fluids in the system, okay. I mean, I'd like to know it, but I wouldn't chance it. I always keep a quart of Type F. It's simple. Granted, the system, if it doesn't leak, you never really have to go and put more in, which is fantastic, but only put Type F, just to be very clear, as well. For the steering pump, there's no exceptions on that. So what do you guys think? I'm curious. So those were a couple of the things that people had talked about in terms of questions. The other question was about the air conditioning in the cellar, which a couple of questions actually came in about the timing chain and the air conditioning. And what was it? Yeah, I think the air conditioning was the big one. And Bring a Trailer will indicate who the seller is. So they said the timing chain and the crank gear were replaced in 2002 when the engine was rebuilt. So that's interesting here. I don't know if the HVAC system works or not. We have not put any money in that. And you can get, I would say, if somebody's a good mechanic, they could go through and either upgrade the system or get the air conditioning working. Any kind of old school shop, that works on classic cars and things like that, and that do AC work. But we have typically seen on here on Bring a Trailer that these cars typically the AC is not working. They just, depending on where you live, you put the top down, you're like, big deal. But as I've said in the past, per Hagerty, you get about a 10% added value. To me, in my Lincolns, I like to have the AC because it's like, hey, if you ever want it to work and you put the time and money in it, just get it working. So the timing gear, again, that's on the front of the engine. It's good to change that. I've talked about that in the past. They've confirmed that. They confirmed that the AC does not work. They also say here the Elvis connection was shared by the man my husband bought the car from. In Memphis, it was an official Elvis parade car. Again, there's no connection to Elvis family. I kind of hinted that often there'll be some type of situations like that, but you just never really know what the full story is. So those are a couple of things that I wanted to point out related to this 61 Lincoln Continental convertible. I will show you this. There was a 66 that was added, and this seems to be, I'm going to do a review on this one in another video. This seems to be a very, very, very nice Survivor car. And Survivor meaning that it didn't go through like a full restoration. I think it was resprayed 40 years ago, according to the comments. But it's a very nice car. And ironically enough, this one has 4 days left. So typically Bring a Trailer, they won't layer these Lincolns on top of each other. Meaning that, if there's a convertible, they won't usually put another convertible at the same time. They want to let the one go and then, let the next one have its glory. This one, though, believe it or not, with 4 days left, it's at $25,000 current bid, whereas the 61's hovering just over $20K with 3 days left. So it'll be very interesting to see. I do believe the 61 is going to jump up in price. I think it's a very nice car. 61 is very desirable. And it's a unique color. The interior looks great. I mean, it's got a lot going for it from what we can see here, right? This 66, certainly we've seen some very strong prices on 66, 67 convertibles. I think I talked about one that was maybe December or January, and it sold for $80,000. So this car is a very nice one. So there's going to be more to come there. I wanted to give the update, and I will say per my intel, there is a very, very possibly the nicest Lincoln Continental convertible that will ever come across Bring a Trailer is going to be going up for sale very, very soon. Possibly, I think in the next week to week and a half, based upon when these two are ending. So we will see if my intel is correct. And I will, of course, be covering that amazing car that's coming up for sale very, very soon. Keep it posted to Lincoln Addict via social media and here on YouTube. Hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. ODB, the Lincoln Addict, I'm out of here. Subscribe. Peace out.